Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Talk Exchange. Today we have a very exciting episode where we interview the national president-elect candidates. And so Joe Dudek, Gary Leonard, and Jennifer Sweeney are all going to take some questions from Tracey and Kristie. So it's a great episode. Hope you enjoy this one, and we'll see you again next week.
Welcome to this episode of Talk Exchange. I'm Tracey Edwards, CEO of the National Exchange Club.
And I'm Kristie Lindahl, Director of Communications.
Hi, Kristie.
Hey, Tracey, it's been a minute.
It has. We haven't been in the studio in a little bit because we pre-recorded so many episodes, which was a lot of fun. We had a little bit of a break.
Yes.
Where you get to listen to our fillers every week. So we still appear in some form or fashion. You can still listen to Talk Exchange each and every week, and I hope you do that to learn more about the National Exchange Club and also just to talk to interesting people, right?
Yeah, we've had some great stories.
More to come.
Brad tells us all the time, how do you meet these people? How do you find such interesting people? And I don't know. But they are interesting.
They are, and we have so many more to come. Today's focus is on the National Exchange Club. Yes. It is our busy season, but we were just saying it's always our busy season. In fact, it was kind of funny. I was walking by Andrew's office Friday, in fact. So last Friday, and he was shaking his head and he said, I said, it's so busy. And Andrew said, it is so busy. This is the busiest April we've ever had. April is so busy. And I said, Andrew, it's May. And he said, May's so busy. It's the busiest May we've ever had. And it is indeed. There's always so much going on because we love to think about what we can do. And it's just fun and exciting. And it's a lot. And now we're in our convention season. So we're rolling towards San Antonio, which is the site of our upcoming national convention where we expect a big crowd on the Riverwalk, don't we?
That's right. Hey, we were there in January with our leadership. What an amazing place. I mean, our hotel is right on the Riverwalk.
Yes.
You couldn't ask for more.
And get in a boat.
Oh, it's so cool. And the restaurants and the shops,
yes.
They have some really cool places. I hope people make it out.
I do too. There's so much to see and do, and definitely I hope they fit in a horse carriage ride.
Oh yeah,
that was fun.
Forgot about that.
Definitely, lots to do. Our focus today is on the national election. So the delegates who come to San Antonio have the opportunity to cast their vote for, among other things, the next national president-elect. And we're joined by 3 people today who have been down that road once.
That's right.
And they're going down that road again. So we're looking forward to learning more about them, what drives them, and why they hope to be the next National Exchange Club president-elect. So welcome to Joe Dudek from Connecticut. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you,
and
Tracey.
Welcome Gary Leonard from South Carolina.
Thank you.
And Jennifer Sweeney from Michigan. Welcome, Joe, Gary, and Jennifer. Great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
It's a great group of people.
It is.
We've worked with all 3 of these members over the years, and I can say each one of them has a heart for exchange.
Absolutely.
And they dedicate all of themselves to exchange. They don't give half.
No, you're right about that. And people keep asking me who I think I would want to have elected. And I said, eat any of them, all of them. Can we just make all of them share the role?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? That is actually a great idea.
I think so. We could work it out. Well, until then, we have some questions to ask. I hope a lot of our members are tuning in to learn more about these candidates because, just like with any election in this country, when we want people to make an informed decision, right?
Yes, absolutely. And as well as we know these 3, a lot of people around the country may not.
That's true.
Unless you've been to convention or some of the events at national headquarters or some of the other district conventions.
Yeah. So today is a good opportunity for all of our listeners to find out what makes these 3 awesome individuals, awesome leaders tick. So we have some questions. So first we're wanting to ask you, you've been down this road before, as we alluded to. You all ran for national president-elect at the last National Exchange Club convention along with Mike Rychek, who was elected. And so we have this group of 3 again. So each of you, what makes you want to run again? So why don't we start with Joe? We tend to go in alphabetical order, don't we? So Joe, what makes you want to run for this position again?
Thank you, Tracey. I want to run again because of my dedication to exchange and the fact that I know that I can support the National Exchange Club, the districts and its clubs in raising membership and engagement within our communities in order to make us a stronger national club as well as on the club basis.
Excellent. Thank you. Same question for you, Gary. What makes you want to run again?
Well, I think the reality is that we all know that exchange right now is at a difficult point in time. If you think about it, ever since COVID, we've not had a stability of leadership. We've always had the same CEO with Tracey, but also during that time, our president and president-elect sometimes have had to do double duty. We've been very fortunate. The strength of exchange comes from having a past president serving with the president, a president-elect, and our CEO. And that's been a problem for the last several years. We've not always had that full team together. So I believe I can bring stability to help reduce some of the issues we've had to deal with. We are a great club. We're America's Service Club, but now it's time to let the rest of the world know about that and make our membership one to get out there and make a difference in our community.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Same question, Jennifer.
Well, I live exchange every single day, whether it's responding to emails, talking through issues with people, mentoring exchange leaders on the phone, or just talking to people in general in the community about exchange. Every single day I do something that's exchange related. And so that I feel that it's my calling. That's what I have been feeling. It's my calling that I was meant to be in this position that I am in today. I have some really new and fresh ideas that I think will help grow exchange and to better serve the communities. And then, most importantly, I have the enthusiasm and I have the drive to lead this organization into the next level.
Well, awesome. All of you. Three good answers already, Kristie.
I like it. Next time, let's start with Jennifer first. And
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that this time? You want to take the next one?
So what did you learn from your experience last year, specifically about yourself and the process?
Oh, my goodness. Jennifer? Let me tell you this. I learned a lot. To be honest, as much as I thought I was ready, I wasn't. I was intimidated going up against Mike and Joe and Gary last year because all of them are highly qualified and great exchange club members and leaders. And even though I was just as qualified as they were, I just realized I didn't have the confidence necessary to carry the weight of the role of president-elect and ultimately president. So I really needed that experience last year to grow as a leader and to build that confidence that I needed to succeed. So the process was okay. However, though, I wasn't. I was so worried about being on time and in the right place and making sure my speech was good, making sure my outfit looked okay. I was just a mess. And what I needed to do was be focused on the people who were there to learn who I was and what I was going to do for them through exchange. So, yeah, I learned a lot.
Thank you. All right. And Gary?
I think the most important thing that I learned from from last year's convention and also election was that I have to spend more time with my constituents. I tended to focus too much time on our hospitality room, which was the first time our regions actually had a joint hospitality room. So I spent time there to making that success. And I had a major district that had some issues that I was also having to confront during the convention. But that's my fault. I realized all those are things that were important, but also the candidacy is important. So my attention this time will be totally towards the convention, the membership, and the issues that we have to deal with. So I feel I'm a much better frame of mind to be able to focus on the most important thing right now in exchange, is that to elect a good, responsible president-elect who can help the president and also the past president and the CEO make a difference in our group.
All right. Thank you. Joe?
Thank you, Kristie. What I learned was that I need to be more focused and pinpointed on the programs that I am going to bring to the National Exchange Club as national president-elect. So the membership at the convention understand very clearly exactly what my message is and how I can support the National Exchange Club down to the local club level and make sure that that's reinforced in all my conversations.
Okay.
Excellent. Everybody's doing so great, Kristie. Okay, next question. What will you do next if the election does not go in your favor? The reality is, as much as we'd like to elect all of you, we can't do that. One of you will be elected. So our question is, if it's not you, what will you do next if the election doesn't go in your favor? So why don't we start with Gary this time?
Okay. Well, I'll do exactly what I did this year, and that was to remain very focused on helping my club deal through some issues that we're addressing right now as a club and as an organization. Likewise, to continue to support our district and all the things that happen in Exchange. I was very fortunate to be on the Finance Committee this year, which really had to deal with lots of issues about clubs not paying their dues, disbanding. And those are things that are critical to us to keep membership high, but also to have the clubs responsible for paying their dues and their debts. And that's a critical thing for us as Exchange. So I'll continue the same thing. The only thing I might do a little bit different, if something happens I'm not elected, I'll probably go back to volunteering as a hospice in-home person, and which is something I always enjoy to do. So there's a great life left out there to help Exchange and help my community and my family.
Definitely. Thank you. Joe?
So if that does happen, I will continue to support the National Exchange Club, not only in my current role as an executive director, the Center of Prevention of Child Abuse in Southern Connecticut, but also my two VFR roles in New England and Connecticut, continuing to support those districts as I have this year in order to help grow membership and clubs within the two districts and raise visibility for the National Exchange Club.
All right.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Well, of course, I will be very disappointed because I really, truly believe this is my calling. But everything happens for a reason. And if I'm not elected, the president-elect, then that tells me I was meant to do other things in Exchange. And so I'll continue to carry out my VFR duties. I would continue to work on club building in Michigan. And I would continue to mentor others in my district and build leaders at my local club level. I believe I will always have a role in Exchange.
Nice. Thank you all.
All right. So, Joe, Jennifer, and Gary, what makes you the best candidate for this role? Let's start with Joe.
Kristie, I believe my experience now as an executive director, again at an Exchange Club Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse, gives me that background and leadership to help support the National Exchange Club and our national project, as well as my corporate background as executive director for a large media company, knowing what to bring strategically to the National Exchange Club to help support the districts, the clubs, and not only raise membership, but raise funds and fundraising that we can help support our national organization in a much larger, fulfilling way.
Okay. And Jennifer?
Well, I think that I am enthusiastic, driven, and I'm more outgoing than I ever have been in my life. I'm a small business owner. Many people don't know that. My husband and I, we own and operate a small carpet cleaning and janitorial company. We started that in 2012. We invested $2,500 into some equipment. And today we've grown the business to a level that produces a steady revenue stream of over $100,000. So by doing that, it took persistence, it took determination, it took a strategic plan to accomplish that goal. And so the same qualities are needed to lead a national organization like Exchange. So I've learned through my business dealings and with my involvement in Exchange that building relationships is the key to success in any organization. I've become quite good at that, and I can teach others how to do it as well. And so after my second time as club president, somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, you would make a good district president." So I served that role, and now I mentor to other district leaders. Then someone else came up to me and said, "Hey, you'd make a really good regional vice president." And so I was elected, and I served that for 4 years, and I loved every interaction I had with other Exchange members across the region. And then many people have come up and said, "Hey, you would make a great national president." So here I am, putting myself out there for everybody to see, and knowing I have the support from my friends and family to see me succeed.
And Gary?
Okay, I think that, obviously we're all very good candidates, for our membership to select from. But when you look, excuse me, when you look at the total history of my service to my community and my employers, you'll see very quickly that I've learned how to serve, but also to lead. There are times that you serve your membership, but there's time that you have to lead. And knowing the difference there, many people like to lead, but they don't want to serve. But you have to understand there is a difference. So my history of being an educator, I started off as a teacher, coach, moved to assistant principal, on up to a national state level position, then into a district. And all those times I learned from each position I was in. The same thing with exchange. I started off as a club member, working very actively in programs of service, and then moved into board of directors position, and then on into the different seats that we often have in my exchange club. My exchange club is a very large club. From that point on, I moved into the district level, and we're the second largest district in South Carolina. And then I moved to the largest stage, which is RVP for District 10, which is the largest region, in exchange. All those allowed me the experiences to work with wide, diverse communities, wide, diverse schools, but wide, diverse clubs. All of our clubs are very independent. But they have to all realize that their connectivity. My job be to help them connect to the next highest level and move on, to maximize their resources to make a difference in their community. So I think my background, experiences, my education, my training, all that will be an asset to where we need to move in our unstable world of exchange.
Awesome. Thank you all. All great candidates.
I think so.
In our role, Kristie, we hear a lot of comments, right? And a lot of feedback, especially on that convention floor. And I know sometimes when candidates are giving their speech and they say things that they're going to do, and we hear a lot of people say, well, why didn't they do that? They've been on the national board. They've been a volunteer field rep. They've been around. Why didn't they just do that before? So this is our opportunity now, I think, for you all to talk about what can members expect of you if elected. And is this something you've done? And if not, we're speaking for the people here. Why didn't you do that before? So who wants to start us off with what can members expect of you if you are elected?
I'll start.
I'll start, Tracey.
Okay, I heard Gary first. So go ahead, Gary.
Well, I think one thing is that honesty and integrity and ethical behavior, which we always have to have in our leadership. And that's something I think while all of us have it, it's something that's got to be demonstrated to our membership. So I think that makes me certainly a very strong candidate for what we have to do. And I will make sure that that happens. It's not just a matter of talk, but also congruency of actions will make our members respect and honor the position of president and president-elect. But also, I think that I have a long history of commitment to service and work. Everything from working with nonprofits over the years to my school organizations and also to our club. That commitment to service, to getting the job done, and makes a difference. And I believe that all of those things will help, to me become a better person, but also maybe become a better leader of exchange. So you'll get what you see, a history of being able to perform at high levels with work with diverse groups. And exchange is moving into diversity at every level. The types of regions that we're in, the types of districts we're in, the types of clubs we're building, but also the ones we have. So that background, I think, we'll see come forth, and you'll see that in my leadership.
Thank you. Okay, next I believe I heard Joe.
I thank you, Tracey. So what I can bring that haven't brought yet on the national level is what I've done to help support the Connecticut and New England districts and bringing new ideas, as well as supporting the centers in a very strong way. It's fresh ideas using our social media and our engagement in order to raise visibility for not only the clubs, but also the National Exchange Club. And as president-elect and president, that allows you that additional exposure that we don't have right now as just being a regional vice president or a trustee or another position. So it is having that visibility and that level of leadership to go to the club and district level and raise the visibility, engagement. And I'm a servant leader, so meeting regularly with the districts and the regions in order to support them how they individually need to be supported, not just as a generality in order to say, oh, I'm here to support you, but be specific for each of those regions and districts and help grow exchange.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer?
Well, they can expect from me an engaged leader, ready to help work out the problems and issues that come up at every level of an exchange. They can expect that I will be available and reachable when they need assistance. They can expect that I will help teach others how to create relationships that will garner members and increase awareness of exchange in communities. And they can expect that I will represent their needs at the National Board of Directors meetings and always keep the good of exchange at front of mind when making decisions for the organization.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Yeah, great answers. So we've talked about this a lot, and it is a hot topic here in Exchange. But what we're talking about here is growth and, and increasing Exchange's membership. Now, you've all mentioned that you have plans to do so. Now we want you to share with us a little bit more about your individual plans. How do you plan to engage and increase our membership? Let's start with Joe. Yeah.
Thank you, Kristie. So, what my plans are is to have additional partnerships in order to engage additional people outside of Exchange for what we do with our core beliefs and our mission. And once we're able to get that out into a more public arena, we'll be able to absolutely grow Exchange and be able to support the clubs and districts on an organic level, right? That is the key, to do it organically. And we have a lot of different ways we can do that, through partnerships with the chamber, through partnerships with other nonprofits, and again, through advanced social media. We all know social media is very pertinent because it's part of our culture right now in our society. And to maximize the social media efforts, which I've done for my center with new campaigns going out into Connecticut in order to get that engagement, which I've seen on a multiple level. And looking to do that for the National Exchange Club and local clubs around the country.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer?
Well, as you know, Exchange has always been built on the concept of building relationships in order to work together to better the communities. And it's still the case today. The skills necessary to build these relationships has been, like Joe says, mostly organic in the past, meeting face to face, calling somebody on the phone instead of texting, um, actually going to a grocery store checkout person instead of self check. Um, Times have changed
Yes, please.
drastically in the last 30 years, and we as an organization have adapted to these changes in communication. We have the educational portal. We have this Talk Exchange podcast. We have Zoom meetings at every level of Exchange now. And we've enabled Exchange leadership, like the board and the headquarters staff, to reach each and every member where they are. And it's time sometimes now to get back to the face to face conversations and phone conversations at the club level. So, Exchange has always been grassroots, bottom up, and I'd like to focus on the club level, the club level and the role of the district director in assisting those clubs. So let's build a training program around the district director that involves a lot more than just the educational portal course. Let's train the trainer in a sense. So through the district directors, we can educate our club leadership on how to mentor others into leadership roles, on how to work with the community and potential members, how to build those relationships in their communities. Show that enthusiasm to the district directors so that they can carry that on to their clubs. And I believe there's an untapped potential in those directors that we can harness, and we can help develop them into great leaders and mentors.
Thanks, Jennifer. And Gary?
I think the most important thing that we can do to help grow membership is, one, to value and engage our present members, because if they're happy, they're involved in groups that we're performing service to, then they'll go out there and be our best spokesperson. Very quickly, I was sitting talking with a group of individuals in my community, and finally one of the persons said, Exchange Club does a lot. I belong to this other group, and all we do is sell ducks. And he goes, I'd like to actually start doing more action things. And he said, I'd like to talk to you more about, Exchange. And that was an opportunity right there to recruit a member. If we have happy members and we sell our product, then we'll be successful. But just like you've heard from many of the other folks who have been talking on this, there's a lot of new things, not always. It's the absolute effort to make personal, direct engagement. We've got to look at who we're not touching, but we are serving. We serve not just our members, but we also serve those that we provide community service to. We help prevent child abuse. We promote Americanism, et cetera, et cetera. Community service is what we do. If people see us out there making and doing things better in our community, they will gravitate towards us. What individual we not know in life does not have at least an interest in one of those? Get them involved. So look for the groups that we serve, look for the groups that are interested in the same types of things we are, and look at community leaders. The best thing we can do is get our word out there. Sometimes I hear people say, we're not in it for the awards. We're not in it for the prizes. But folks, let me tell you, if we don't start tooting our home better, tooting our tooting our own home better, then we're not going to sometimes have a horn to toot. And the reality is, it takes good PR at the club, district, and national levels to make people become more engaged, but also more willing to go out there and invite themselves at other people's homes, other people's business, and talk about what we do. It all boils down to taking care of our membership and getting the word out what we do to recruit those that make a difference in our community.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm impressed with everyone. What do you think, Kristie?
There's a lot of ruminating in
There's
my
a
head.
lot
Yeah.
going on. I know, definitely.
Great answers, everyone.
Absolutely. So we hear a lot about leading by example. So what we want to know is, and we know this, as Kristie alluded to in the beginning, we all have experience with each of you, and you've all been just such involved leaders who lead by example. But for the people listening, they want to know, what have you personally done to recruit members? And I think equally as important, the follow-up question, how did that go, and what is the lasting impact? And we talk about lasting impact because I know sometimes we've had candidates who maybe built 5 exchange clubs, right? But then when you look at which of those exchange clubs still exist today,
Right.
sometimes it's 1, 2, sometimes it's 0, right? So people
Right.
want to know really, well, how did that go, and what's the long lasting effect, right?
Yes, exactly. Are they still serving your communities? How
Yes.
active is that club?
Right, because that says a lot about leadership, but also about mentorship, sustainability for the organization. That's a real concern today, to
Sure.
set up clubs and members for the long
Sure,
term, right?
because we talk about, they've all talked about relationships and engagement
Yes.
and that sort of thing. So you can't just, a new exchange club is not like a ship you send out into the ocean.
That's true, right?
We want to keep it anchored.
Exactly. Good point. And I knew the communication director would have the right words to make that come together. So our question for you is not just what have you personally done to recruit members or build clubs, but how did that go, and what's the impact of that today? So who'd like to start that conversation?
All right.
Joe, go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Thank you, Tracy. So I've built 5 exchange clubs. 3 were Excel clubs, 2 were regular exchange clubs. All 5 are still in existence, helping the community through their different programs of service. And mentoring is very important, as you said, Tracy. And so it's why I'm a member of 8 clubs, because I believe mentoring and partnering is very important. And so while I'm obviously not a member of the Excel clubs, I am a member of the exchange clubs that I have built, and continue to mentor them and have them grow and help themselves better serve their communities and better serve exchange. And so that's what I will continue to do. And I continue also to come up with new ideas. I just had a program last month in April for the prevention of child abuse called Trivia for a Cause. And we've gotten a lot of engagement through that. In fact, through our website at the center, we're getting daily inquiries about what they can do to help the center and help volunteer in order to help us provide the services that we provide, very importantly, into our community. And these are the things that I can bring to the National Exchange Club: new, fresh ideas, new partnerships to help engagement and help people want to be part of exchange and grow exchange organically, and help us all better serve our communities.
Okay, thank you. And same question, next person.
Jennifer, I'll let you
All right.
go next.
I'll go next. So like I mentioned earlier, I live exchange every day. So I'm constantly talking to people about exchange, inviting them to our projects, to our meetings, helping to plan activities and increase awareness of the organization in our community. So from an idea that I got from a friend of mine in Indiana, I have developed a business card with our exchange name on the front with the emblem, and our email address. On the back is our days of meeting and time, and also a invitation for a complimentary dinner at our next meeting. And so what we've done is we've attached these to the front of the Inspiring Change brochure. And we give these out at different events that we're out in the community. Recently, we were at Culver's restaurant where we did community engagement, information table, spin the wheel, win a prize, that kind of a thing, where we talk to people as they come in to order their food. about exchange, and they all walk away with one of these brochures with the card attached. And I'm out there talking to the folks who get these cards, telling them about what we do. Also, these cards and these brochures are given to our speakers who come in. Um, then I also follow up with an email. I let them know of our calendar of events that's going on, so they see the impact that our club has on the community. And so we just kind of keep that follow up, we keep that engagement going. And our club chartered a year ago, February, with 15, and we're now at 22, and we have 8 active on the prospect list. So I think it's working a little bit, and we're excited about that. That's just one example. We're also going to be hosting a 5K this summer. Our calendar is full, even though we only meet twice a month. Our calendar is full with things happening outside the meeting time, and that's where I think a lot of people really like that. They don't want to just come to a meeting. They want to come and do something. They want to give back to the community. And being involved in having all these extra activities happening besides a meeting is important to getting new members.
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank you. Gary?
I think it starts, again, in that very personal type thing. We often have probably about 6 to 8 members bring guests to our meetings. And we're all encouraged, and especially want the board of directors and other members to actually go approach and say hello, talk to that individual, get them involved as much as they can, make them aware. So the invitation to come to lunch is one thing. We also make a strong effort to try to get them to come and see what we do at the Coast Carolina Fair, because that is probably one of the great things that holds us together. But it's also a thing that sometimes does not help us to keep members, because the family responsibility has come so great since we require 40 hours or more during the fair, because that's how we make our money. So that's kind of essential for us to let a person fully understand what they're getting involved in. Another thing that I know, that when I was secretary of a club, we were about 260 members. We actually got about 300. Is during my 2 years, my job was to sometimes contact an individual who's not been attending, not paying their dues, and find out what's been happening with them. So during that period of time when I would talk with them, I'd find out some were having some financial issues, so I could in turn direct them to our welfare fund to be able to help catch them up and be able to put them back into the road of being a sound member. But also that sometimes it was a personal thing. Somebody insulted them or made them feel bad about something. And so I would have to try to be able to be a kind of a peacemaker between the two, or to get them moved to another area. Another thing that really kind of doesn't seem to always work, when a person sponsors somebody, they kind of let them go adrift. And that in itself, I think, is probably one of the weaknesses that we have. We've got to stay engaged with the sponsor to that member as they come in, to help get them into the right committees, get them to become a part of certain groups, be able to move outside sometimes their comfort level. So when you look at that, everybody has a role in it. One of the proud things the other day, I was at one of our meetings, and one of our newer members who'd been around for about a year, I called him by his name, and he looked at me and says, you're probably the only member that's older than me, which is not unusual. And it said, you knew my name, and I appreciate that, because obviously you have some offices and things that you do. And so at least somebody come in and talk to me made me feel a lot better about it. And he said, I was thinking about not participating anymore. He's still coming, but we've got to keep touching him, got to keep him involved. And that's involving not just his sponsor, but also other club members. Another quick thing that I think that we sometimes just don't realize is, when you bring individuals and groups to our club meetings, make a real statement of showing how they can make a difference in our community. At our awards days, the parents come. And the days we honor blue and gold, we have police officers there. And what we're seeing now, because of our relationship with our law enforcement, but also our first responders, that we're getting more people, especially recent retirees, coming into our club, because they like, the idea of Americanism. They like the idea of serving their community, and they become different types of participants. They're not always now out there just wearing a gun. They're actually wearing a badge of honor to be able to bring other people in and realize they do serve besides just protect. So there's lots of things you can do, but let's go back very quickly to talking about clubs that you help build. First of all, when I was a younger member, I started off in my offices being able to help train new clubs, new secretaries, new vice presidents, new president-elects, etc. And after a period of time, they kind of went on their own. Some of those clubs were successful, and some had to struggle, and some have not been able to rebound. Then when I moved into actually helping more with club building, I moved from not just helping to train somebody, but also being a participant. And one of the areas I noticed that as my responsibilities in exchange started increasing, I tended to move away from that club and not be able to support them as much. So we started another club recently. I took a different role. Besides not just training officers, I became an active participant in meetings and also their service to our community. My wife also joined that, so we often worked together as a team. And that's made a real difference. People see us not just as being the outsider coming in, but also being right there on the inside, working on helping poor people get into homes, helping poor people find where their food, helping individuals move into different types of our society to make a difference in that, to be advocates and leaders for their own needs and their own wants. So it helps a lot, I think, to take that step when you become a club builder, not just to build and walk away, but stay there actively. Do not necessarily seek offices, but seek service.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
Tracey, you can always put an election on the calendar, but that
Yes.
doesn't mean you're going to wind up with qualified candidates.
That's true.
We've got 3 very qualified candidates right
do.
here,
We
and
do.
we're going to be fortunate to have any one of them.
I agree
fill this
100%,
position.
especially after speaking with them today. I know them all personally, and just to hear what they had to say today, I'm impressed. I'm feeling fortunate that Exchange can count on all 3 of these people as leaders.
I think so. And if I might add a personal note, as someone who works with all 3 of them on a frequent basis,
yes,
every single one of them came back 100% active and ready to go after last year's election.
that's a good point.
Yeah, so I have absolutely no doubt that they mean to follow through with the things they've told us today.
I agree with you because, that reminds me about so many people that we never saw these people again. And
Yep.
to their credit, all 3 of them have stayed even more involved and raised their leadership interests and have been so positive ever since.
11 years into this job,
Yes.
sometimes we say, why did this person want to run for that role?
Yes.
And I don't think we have to ask that question here.
Not at all. To everyone listening, you have a tough decision when you come to San Antonio, but it's a great thing because we have 3 very qualified, passionate, likable candidates.
That's right.
Likability is huge too.
I
and
like
they're all very
likable people.
I do too. So this has been great. Thanks to each of you for taking time out of your afternoon. Thank you for being leaders in the National Exchange Club, and we wish you all the best, and we can't wait to see you in San Antonio. To our listeners, to learn more about the National Exchange Club, please visit nationalexchangeclub.org or any of our social media platforms. And to our members, thank you for being valued members of Exchange, and we'll look forward to seeing you in San Antonio in July. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talk Exchange.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Tracey. Thank you.